How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your November 2018 forecast for Cancer. So, Cancer, some big changes are happening for you this month. I know that's very astrologer of me to say, but to begin with, on November 6th, we're going to have Uranus retrograde back into Aries. So Uranus has been in your 11th house in Taurus for a little while now. So you might have had, some friends come out of nowhere, feeling more stable and secure with them. Things are kind of, sporadic in the friendship world and kind of who you're associating with. But as Uranus retrogrades back into the 10th house, this focus becomes a little bit more on the career stuff and your public vocation, what the world kind of sees you as. And Uranus is all about liberation, freedom, sparking things, explosions, ups and downs, random events. It's a wild card. He's not going to be in Aries for too long. He will go back into Taurus later on in March of next year. But as he retrogrades back into Aries, there's some stuff that you still have a little bit of spark to put back into your career. Uranus is going to be in Aries when we're talking about a Mars-ruled sign. We're wanting to take action. You're going to be wanting to take more action, having more inspiration to take action and doing more things with your career, especially because, Uranus has been in your 7th house, not your 7th house, your 10th house for the past 7 years. This is just Uranus coming back in, dipping its toes back in the water, making sure that you've done what you can do, and if you haven't yet, having the energy to accomplish what you want to accomplish in that realm. On the same day, we have the North Node go from Leo to Cancer, and this is a big deal because the North Node is going to be over your first house, over your Sun for the next year and a half. The North and the South Node just represent where the eclipses are going to be at any given point. And the North Node is more going to be directed with where you want to focus, where you want to go. It's like your internal spirit guide. Like, it's always the direction you're going to mainly head in. And it is going to be in Cancer, where we're talking about trust. We're talking about nurturing. We're talking about taking care of things, being protective, being maternal about things. And as the North Node goes to Cancer, this is the direction that you're going to want to be heading in, where the North Node is kind of like it's basically symbolic of the dragon's head. It's what we want to consume. It's where we want to go towards. It's what we want to focus on. And it's kind of just, what our appetite is craving at the moment. And as this happens, it's going to be in your first house of yourself, of your personality, of who you are, and expressing more of that. So as the North Node goes into Cancer, I think you're going to start feeling a lot more of yourself, start feeling a lot more pulled to go in the direction of just expressing more of who you are and being more Cancer to your nature, being more trusting, being more nurturing, being more protective. This is really good stuff. So the next year and a half, as you have eclipses in your first house and in your 7th house, because the South Node is going to be moving to Capricorn, where we are talking about kind of releasing away from certain, blockages that could be in relationships, but we'll be talking more about that because this is a year and a half transit. This is going to be good though. Moving forward, on November 7th, we have the new moon in Scorpio. This is going to be happening in your 9th house. No, not your 9th house, actually, your 5th house. And this is a big deal because Venus has been retrograding right here. Jupiter's been going through here. Mercury's been going through here. Excuse me. And with Venus, well, for one, with Jupiter going through Scorpio, going through your 5th house, really just learning and understanding a lot more of your beliefs and, really expanding on more of what you really want to create. The 5th house is related to art, music, children, kids, has a lot to do with love, sex, passion, having more fun. And as Jupiter's been in Scorpio, you've seen a lot of this part of your life become a little bit more enhanced. And this is Scorpio we're talking about, so it's been a little bit intense. However, this new moon in Scorpio is kind of allowing you to have a new, not necessarily a restart, but just refreshing and cleansing that energy, kind of purging out what has gone on, especially as Venus is retrograded in your 5th house and you've kind of reevaluated what you want to pursue, reevaluated what you've been wanting to create, feeling more maternal, wanting to honestly just have more fun and create more better things. It's just been about for you getting yourself centered again. But this new moon in Scorpio is going to be very much releasing for you, and of course we'll talk more about that for the new moon. For the new moon. Then we have Jupiter going into Sagittarius. So Jupiter's been in your 5th house for a while. Jupiter's been having a lot of fun, but Jupiter's going to be going into your 6th house. And although Jupiter is going to be entering Sagittarius, where he does a lot better, he's in his home sign, he gets to expand, he gets to explore, he gets to believe, he gets to have faith, he gets to be excited. This is going to be in your 6th house of, we're talking about your work, your routine, your everyday habits, your sense of service to this world. employment. This is also dealing with problems. The sixth house is known for health. The sixth house is known for things deteriorating and breaking away. So as Jupiter goes into Sagittarius in your sixth house, this is going to be kind of a focus on, okay, how can you better your habits? How can you better your health? Where can you put more time and focus into that? And what can you really not necessarily believe, but what can you learn about your habits, and what can you learn about, you know, the process of establishing those habits, establishing healthier beliefs about yourself, and consistently taking action on those. With Jupiter also being in Sagittarius in your sixth house, this is a really good time to put yourself more out there in terms of service to other people and what you're really doing and what you're kind of giving. And we'll be talking more about that as we move on. Mars is also going to be trining Venus later on November 9th. This is also going to be really nice because as Mars has been retrograde, he's been in your 8th house, where the 8th house is, you know, nightmares, death, sex, rebirth. A lot of crazy things happen in the 8th house. Mars has been kind of helping you step away from things that don't really serve you and that are kind of scary, and has been helping you really connect and identify with a new way of going about those 8th house things that are kind of scary, that have a lot of change, dealing with other people's stuff. And as Mars moves forward through Aquarius, where he's kind of helping you determine your direction in growth, in change, in discomfort, it's going to be trining Venus in Libra. And Venus is going to be in your guys' 4th house of your family, of your home life, of where you're centering yourself and how you're centering yourself. And as Venus, during this time when she trines Mars, she will still be retrograde. So that is a big note to take in, because she'll go direct later on this month. However, as Venus is still retrograde in Libra, where you're still trying to find the value of where you're getting centered, really working with people and getting centered with those relationships, Mars is trining Venus, where Mars is really helping you establish healthy boundaries and healthy concepts to really relate to people with. Then on November 14th, Mercury will square Neptune as it stations retrograde. While Mercury goes into Sagittarius, he's going to be in his detriment. He's going to be in the 6th house for you. You may feel a little bit overwhelmed with, you know, everything that you've got going on in your day-to-day life, and there's just so much to be going on, especially with Jupiter kind of making this a more abundant realm of your world. It will be squaring Neptune, where Neptune's in your 5th house, or not your 5th house. I keep getting that mixed up. Your 9th house. And Neptune's been in your 9th house, where when it comes to spirituality, beliefs, you know, 9th house themes, really, Neptune's just kind of putting a marine layer on top of it, making it a little bit foggy and a little bit unclear. But as Mercury squares Neptune and starts to begin to make his retrograde, this is where you're going to start to have a little bit more clarity of understanding in order to accomplish everything that you need to accomplish, because again, you're going to feel a little bit overwhelmed with everything that's kind of on your plate. It's going to be up to you to kind of disillude yourself from the from any type of illusion that you can have with where you want to take yourself, where you want to actually go, and what you really believe about yourself in that sense. On November 16th, we have Venus going direct. So she'll be going direct in Libra in your 4th house. Terms of family, your home life, your private life, that's going to be starting to go really well again. You'll start to feel way more centered, especially if you've been surrounding yourself in that Venus and Libra energy, especially at your home, you know, buying yourself nice things. This is going to be really good. On the same day, Mars will enter Pisces. And Mars is going to be entering Pisces in your 9th house, where we are talking about the 9th house is all about spirituality, beliefs, far distance travel, foreign languages, higher education, publishing, things of that nature. And as Mars enters Pisces, where Mars is a very angry planet, he's very determined, he's very action oriented, he's very much the warrior. When he enters Pisces, he takes a shamanic journey, and he has to understand where he wants to relate. He has to understand where his boundaries are. He needs to understand, really, he needs clarity in a very foggy world. And so as Mars enters Pisces in your 9th house, you're going to start seeing yourself go, okay, is this really what I want to take action on, in the sense of, is this what I believe? Is this worth my time? The 9th house, you know, being a far distance travel, higher education, learning, experiencing things like that. Mars in your 9th house may be like, yeah, I want to go do that. Yeah, I want to do that. But why do I want to do that? It's kind of like you want to pursue it, but you don't know where to go with it. And that's going to be a big theme for you this month, because this Mercury retrograde is going to be squaring Mars. Mars is going to go over Neptune. A lot is happening in that. So don't get too worried about being indecisive or unclear, because that's going to end up, you know, coming out at some point. Then on November 17th, Mercury stations retrograde, and again, he's squaring Neptune. He's going to be in your 6th house. You're going to be kind of evaluating, all right, you know, where am I where am I putting my energy into every single day? Where can I get more out of this? Not overwhelming yourself with what you need to do, and just kind of realizing, okay, one step at a time, shifting your mind to kind of focus things on a more positive role, on a more adventurous and exciting, a more of a learning role with Mercury being retrograde. It's just, the biggest thing is just be a little bit aware and take your time with things. It can be very easy to be overwhelmed for you guys at this time. And then on November 19th, we have Mars squaring Jupiter. And as Jupiter is in Sagittarius in your 6th house, where he's wanting you to do more, he's wanting to give you more stuff, more good stuff to do every single day. Mars is going to be in Pisces in your 9th house, where it's kind of like, yeah, you have all this stuff, but it's kind of like it's hard for you to really get that energy to actually go and do it, because you're so contemplative and you kind of want to escape and you kind of want to go somewhere else. The biggest thing is that you just need to start really understanding, where do you need to be clear in your actions and your intentions, and it comes back down to, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to pursue? Venus is going to be in your 5th house soon as she goes back into Scorpio, and so you're going to be really, focusing more on that. However, as Mars is in Pisces in your 9th house, don't escape, don't run away from what Jupiter's wanting to bring you. Just really find the energy, or conserve your energy to really, take small steps. Don't get too overwhelmed with it. Just make sure you're still accomplishing what you need to accomplish. But it is going to be a time of contemplation. It is going to be a time of looking at things in a different way, in a more philosophical way. Then on November 22nd, we have the Sun ingressing into Sagittarius, where when the Sun goes into Sag for you guys, it's going to be in your 6th house. So focusing on, your daily habits, what your health is, what you're kind of doing every day. If you're employed, whatever it is that you're doing for work, kind of just getting in the groove of that. So this is going to be good. But there will also be a full moon in Gemini on the same exact day. And this full moon in Gemini is going to be in your 12th house of repressed and unacknowledged parts of yourself. This is also hidden enemies. This is also, the 12th house is a very blinding place. We don't always get to see what's going on there. And so when you have this full moon, and you guys are very much ruled by the moon, when she's in Gemini and she emotionally expresses what it's like to understand, what it's like to get the facts. Mercury in Gemini is very much, I need answers, I need clarity, tell me what it is I need to hear. This moon in Gemini in your 12th house is going to help you really realize a lot of the stuff that is kind of the gunky problems and issues that are coming up with the 6th house stuff. It's like you're going to feel a little bit overwhelmed with your routine. You're going to need to, catch up with everything. The full moon in Gemini is kind of like, hey, why is this an issue for you? What are you repressing? What do you need to acknowledge? And what do you need to understand and be aware of in order to go about these tasks more efficiently and effectively? So that is going to be a big deal. On November 25th, right after that, we have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in the 6th house for you guys. This is going to be at 3 degrees Sagittarius. This is setting the new cycle for Jupiter in Sagittarius of, wanting to give you guys more in terms of employment, in terms of service to other people, really establishing healthier habits, establishing a better system of operations, getting things done the way that you need to, but in a fun and a positive way, because it's Jupiter. Right after that, Neptune goes direct, which is just something to kind of throw out there. And then the Sun will continue to conjunct Jupiter at 4 degrees Sagittarius. The next day, on November 27th, the Sun and Mercury conjunct. Mercury will go Cazimi under the beams of the Sun. And this is when you'll start to, because Mercury is going to be retrograde in your 6th house. So you're going to feel a little bit overwhelmed, and you're going to really want to understand where to apply all this energy and where to really put it all. As Mercury conjuncts the Sun, and it basically acknowledges and becomes very aware of, where do you really want to put yourself into? As Mercury is in Sagittarius, and it's kind of like having you think and having you believe, and it's really exciting and overwhelming. The Mercury-Sun conjunction is kind of like, hey, this is where you should take this. This is what you need to understand about this. This is what you can really do with it. And then on the same day, Mercury will then conjunct Jupiter, where it's kind of like, okay, you realize what's overwhelming. You understand what you need, not necessarily what you need to let go of, but where you want to pursue, what's going to give you the best route. And as Mercury conjuncts Jupiter, this is going to be like good news. Like, okay, now that you realize where you kind of need to focus on, let's bring more positive to that, and let's bring more good to that. And then by the end of the month, on November 30th, we have Venus opposing Uranus at 29 degrees Aries in Libra. And so as Uranus goes back into your guys' 10th house, what we were talking about, making sure you have that one last charge of boost of energy and craziness in your career world, or what you're kind of doing or how the public and the world and everybody else kind of sees you. Venus is going to be in your 4th house in Libra, making that opposition where it's kind of like, okay, how can you center yourself on a higher level? Venus is in Libra, where she wants you to be more abundant in where you center yourself. She wants to give more to your home life. She wants to bring you things. And as Uranus is in your 10th house, it's kind of like making sure you can get the leverage of, okay, who do I know? What am I doing? What am I connected to? And how can that better center myself on something that you really do, something that's nice, something that is luxurious, something that you deserve. On the same day as well, Mercury will retrograde back into Scorpio, where you've been a little bit overwhelmed, there's been a lot going on. Mercury will go back into Scorpio, and it's kind of like, hey, this is what you need to focus on. You want to focus on what you want to do, you want to focus on what you want to create. Keep that mindset going as you go into this overwhelming time as Mercury goes direct and flies through Sagittarius again. So yeah, with that being said, that's basically the whole month. So thank you guys so much for watching all my videos, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and I'll be seeing you guys for your next month's horoscope.